This is Sports Drive.
Welcome back into Sports Drive. I am your host, Maya Kitchens. Thank you guys so much again for joining us today for Sports Drive on a Friday afternoon. It's almost the end of the week, but at the beginning of our show, I talked about volleyball. The bi-district round for high school volleyball has begun, and I said that a lot of teams are making it to the area round after big wins yesterday. We've still got a couple more games. Our sports director, Zach Woodard, is actually right down the street at River Road before another big bi-district game. Bringing him in right now. Zach, how are you doing?
I'm good. Always glad to be out and be able to catch these games and come on Sports Drive while we're in the field. We rarely get to do it, but it's great when it works out for the timing.
Well, this is the time that we do get to have each other on, is when we're out in the field for playoffs. I feel like we did that a lot last year because we had so many teams going. And I mean, we were talking about it right before I had you on. I had written our web story last night about all the teams that we had. We had so many highlights of volleyball last night. We're so fortunate to have a lot of great people here at News Channel 10 that are able to shoot for us and get us those highlights. But man, just in one day, so many teams have punched their ticket to the area round, and we're hoping that Miami joins the group today. They get to play Loop at River Road High School. That one gets started in just about 15 minutes. Zach, this high school volleyball season has been really good to us. What are, some of those biggest things that you've seen this year?
I think it's just the excitement always ramps up year after year. You always see teams get better and better. You always see teams finish, top 25 in their classification by the time it's all said and done. The Lady Warriors, one of those teams in 1A, they were ranked 22 before the end of the season. And of course, the ranking streak down to 10 when the playoffs start, and that kind of becomes the new numbers. But Miami was a top 25 team, and for a very, very good reason. They finished 20-7, second in their district. The only team they lost to was Fort Elliott, and they lost them twice. Other than that, they took care of everybody in their district, and they have a really, really good chance against Loop. They're actually warming up right now. I'm going to show you. If you can see it right behind me, Loop is on the floor hitting. Miami was waiting for their turn, so it's going to be a good game. I mean, this one gets started at 4, so if you are in this area, near us here at News Channel 10, definitely stop by and check it out.
Okay, I will say, we talked about this a little bit. You are cutting out just a little bit, but you are out in the field, so we give you a pass. But as Zach was saying, Miami is warming up to take on Loop today. And with that being said, though, we have so many teams into the playoffs, and we have a representative from each classification, all the way from 1A. Actually, from TAPS, we talked about San Jacinto just a little bit earlier. They won their game yesterday against Victory Baptist. They got the sweep. But we have 1A Division 1, 1A Division 2, all the way up through 5A Division 1. Everything is represented, and I think that's just, just that much more special that, I think a lot of people, we've talked about this, a lot of people count out the Panhandle and what we have to offer here, and I think, this is a great representation. We consistently have teams get into the state championships, and I want to talk about that a little bit because two teams that picked up sweeps yesterday, Bushland representing 3A Division 1 getting the sweep over Littlefield, and Randall getting the sweep over Fort Stockton. Both of those teams made it to the state championships last year. You were in attendance for that. Bushland won the state championship to nobody's surprise. And then Randall, unfortunately, fell in 5 sets. But to be able to have those two teams back in the running, I know Randall desperately wants to get back. Coach Culpepper does a great job with Bushland. They're a powerhouse over there. But to have a bunch of other different schools in attendance, and even some schools from the same divisions, that's so great. Who are some of those teams that are kind of really standing out for you up to this point, Zach?
I think Bushland, I think Randall, I think Amarillo High. I think those are, the three that coming into the year, certain teams, you just have that mentality, state championship or bust. And it certainly is that way for Bushland because they are the reigning 3A Division I champions. And they lost a lot of seniors, 10 seniors on that team last year, a lot of youth on this year's squad, a lot of sophomores, a lot of juniors, but it doesn't look like they lost a step. You know, Coach Culpepper has Bushland running like a well-oiled machine. They're contenders year in and year out. And they are not satisfied with anything less than being in Garland, which is why Falcon Gym looks exactly like Garland, because you practice in a place that you want to get to, like State. Amarillo High with Coach Burns in year 2. Obviously, she has championship DNA with Randall. And Coach Morrison, first year at Randall, takes the Lady Raiders back to State. She doesn't know anything different at Randall. So there's no reason to think that she wouldn't want to be back in Garland yet again, and they definitely have the capabilities to do that. So I think those 3 teams, but you always get, you know, the Miamis of the world. You know, there's a lot of great teams that played very, very well yesterday. A lot of sweep wins. West Plains, of course, wants to put their name in that conversation with Coach Cornelius back in the mix. So it's hard to tell now. It's early to say, but I think year in and year out, especially in that 3A classification, you can sort of just pencil in Bushland to at least get close, if not all the way there.
Yeah, you mentioned Bushland, you mentioned Amarillo High. Both of those teams won their districts. We had 5 teams that are going to be able to represent their districts. Amarillo High representing 5A Division I. Tascosa was just right behind them in second place. They didn't win, but want to highlight them as well. West Plains and Randall are splitting the 4A, or Class 4, 4A. West Plains representing 4A Division I, Randall representing Division II, both in those number 1 seeds. Bushland we already mentioned. And then Sanford Fritch. They went undefeated in district play. They got a sweep yesterday as well. I know you got to talk to their coach recently as well. So a lot of great teams that are still in contention. And like we said, we have even more to come. Couple of games today. We'll make sure that we're talking about those. And then we've already gotten texts from some of our athletic directors, so shout out to you guys for always keeping us in the loop. For next week's games, area round just begins in just a couple of days, and so we'll get to see who gets to punch their ticket. Zach, I'll let you get ready. I know they're getting warmed up out there. That's a 4 o'clock start time. We will have highlights of this game on the news at 6 tonight, so make sure you're keeping a lookout for that, as well as a lot of other things that we can talk about in the sports world. Zach, thanks so much for coming on Sports Drive, and good luck at the game.
Thank you so much, Maya. Thanks for having me on.
We'll be right back after the break.